Hello everyone, I am Gurudat, Assistant Professor in Indraprastha Law College. Congratulations and welcome to the 9th semester of your 5-year LLB course. In this subject, we will be studying law of evidence. In this particular video, I will be introducing you to this law. Let's first discuss or have a quick view of the syllabus which what we will be covering in this chapter, in this subject. The whole subject is divided into 15 chapters, and therefore I'll be taking 16-17 video lectures to complete the whole syllabus. The first chapter will start with fact and issue and relevant facts and documents, the simple definitions of these terms. Similarly, in second chapter, you can see second, third, fourth. You can just have a look of all the chapters which you will have to study in this subject. Dying declaration is very important for your examination point of view, and just have a look of all the subjects, all the chapters. Stoppel is also very important in scoring part. Burden of proof is also very important. We'll be covering all this 15 chapters one by one. As far as books are concerned, for evidence, I'll say that you must have Indian Evidence Act, and you should rely mostly on this particular act. The Bayer Act will be sufficient, but still, if you want book, Batuk Lal is a good option. You can have Batuk Lal or even Ratan Lal and Dheeraj Lal. These two books are good. Now before starting the Indian Evidence Act, let's understand the meaning of evidence. That what is evidence? See, the object of every judicial investigation is enforcement of some rights or liability, which may depend on certain facts. Now, for implementing these rights and liabilities, law of evidence is a kind of system of rules for ascertaining the controverted question of facts in judicial inquiries. So, evidence helps you in asserting the rights and liability which have to be implemented in any judicial investigation. Etymologically, evidence has been derived from Latin term evidere, which means to show clearly, to make plainly certain, to ascertain, to prove. The word evidence includes all legal means exclusive of mere arguments which tend to prove or disprove any matter of fact, the truth of which is submitted to the judicial investigation. So, classical exposition of Bentham, we'll just have a quick look at it. Any matter of fact, the effect or tendency of which is to produce in mind of a persuasion, affirmative or disaffirmative of the existence of some other matter of fact, is called as evidence. So, evidence tends you to believe in something or disbelieve in something. Anything which does so is called evidence. As far as the legal definition, the legal interpretation, the statutory interpretation is concerned, the section 3 of Indian Evidence Act 1872 reads, evidence means and include all statements which the court permits or requires to be made before it by witnesses in relation to the facts under inquiry. Such statements are called oral evidence. Now, in second part, all documents including electronic records produced for inspection of the court are called documentary evidence. This interpretation is not exhaustive. Now, evidence has been defined in very clear words in Indian Evidence Act. It can either be oral evidence. By oral evidence, we mean that anything which has been said about the matter of fact in judicial inquiry, everything is oral evidence. And if court is submitting anything in documentary form, it will be documentary evidence. This electronic word was not present in the starting of Indian Evidence Act when it was implemented. It was later added in Indian Evidence Act after the IT Act came into force. Now let's talk about the rules of evidence. There are certain rules how evidence has to be. They'll just study certain rules how evidence has to be accepted or rejected. The law of evidence, also known as the rules of evidence, encompasses the rules and legal principles that govern the proof of facts in legal proceedings. So this Act, Indian Evidence Act, it provides legal principles of what should be submitted as evidence and what should be rejected as not acceptable, and what should be rejected. These rules determine what evidence must or must be considered by the trier of fact in reaching its decision. The trier of fact is judge in bench trials or jury in the case, in any case involving jury. Jury doesn't happen in India. Jury is there are certain countries which still follow jury system, but India has abandoned the jury system. Therefore, mostly it is procedural law. So it says that therefore it is mostly it is procedural law, but parts of Evidence Act are also substantive law, like the rules of estoppel. You will study in the later videos about it. Now, object of evidence law. That why do we need such a law? The question comes in our mind that magistrate may decide what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. Why do we need a big law for this purpose? So at times when you leave these things on magistrate, he might do some human error. Therefore, this law has been implemented. The object is to prevent inaccuracy in admissibility of the evidence. Next, to introduce a more correct and uniform rule of practice. Now, at times, if you don't have a law, then one magistrate may accept something as evidence and other magistrate may not accept it as evidence. So there will be no uniformity of accepting evidence. Therefore, a proper evidence law provides uniform system in the whole country. Ascertaining controverted questions of fact in judicial proceedings. Evidence is to a judicial investigation what logic is to reasoning. To prevent laxity in the admissibility of evidence. Now, at times judge may accept something as evidence, although it might not really be a evidence. Therefore, evidence law provides that what should be accepted. Now, this discretionary power of magistrates, of judges, has been reduced up to an extent through Indian Evidence Act. Now, nature of law of evidence. The Indian Evidence Act, which is our evidence law, it is not exhaustive. I mean, by the meaning of not exhaustive, it means that although it has been, we have an Indian Evidence Act, but magistrates are not bound to follow only this law. There are even some other law which provide mechanism for accepting evidence, or even some discretionary powers has been left to High Court, Supreme Court and magistrate. It is a lex fori law, that is law of the country. Evidence law, unlike for example murder is an offense in nearly every country. Alright, it is offense in every country. So, but rules of accepting evidence may differ from one country to other country. Now, evidence law is therefore lex fori, it is law of the country. It depends upon the country how or what things will be accepted as evidence. There is no universal principle in this law. Country makes their own law of accepting evidence or not. It is a law of procedure. It is retrospective. Retrospective means there might be two kinds of law: prospective law and retrospective law. Retrospective laws are those laws which are applicable even to the matters before the implementation of law. For example, if some law has been made in 2002 and it is retrospective, then although it was implemented in 2002, it will be applicable to acts and events taking place before 2002. So if some event has happened in 1991, then also retrospective law of which was passed in 2002 will be applicable to it. The current and the burning example is the rights which female members of a family have got recently in property matters. Lastly, it is an adjective law. Now, there are 5 cardinal principles of law of evidence. Although evidence law is a Lex 4E, that is, it depends upon the country and country implements it, but still there are certain basic principles which every law of evidence must have. The first one is evidence must be confined to the matter in issue. Now, what is matter in issue? This we will be studying in the next video, in the next chapter, but briefly I am telling you what is matter in issue. Matter in issue is the main reason of disagreement between the parties. It is the main cause because of which the case has been raised in the court. Now, the basic rule of evidence is that whatever evidence has been is being taken in the case, it must be confined to the matter in issue. Unnecessary evidence should not be taken. Every evidence must be confined to the matter in issue. Hearsay evidence must not be admitted. And what is hearsay evidence? Hearsay is evidence is those evidence which is not direct evidence. For example, A and B were talking something. Then C he was standing outside the room, heard something from A and their talk. Now C goes in court and tells that I had heard A and B talking, planning a murder. Now this will be a hearsay evidence. It will not be a concrete evidence. Somebody said something, somebody heard something, and he is going to court to give evidence. Then that evidence will not be accepted. That will be hearsay evidence. Best evidence must be given in all cases. This principle means that if there are three evidences present in the which proves some crime, then the court, out of these three evidences, the prosecuting agency must present the best evidence. Whatever is the best evidence must be presented in the court. It might be possible that even without presenting the best evidence, the accused might be getting convicted, but still, as per the principles of evidence law, the best evidence has to be produced in court. Fourth point is facts judicially noticeable need not be proved. So there are certain facts, that's a specific law. There are certain facts which are judicially noticeable. You don't need to prove those facts. Facts admitted need not be proved. If some fact has been admitted by the court, then you don't need to prove those facts. It is by default accepted that it is a fact and you don't need to prove it. Thank you. In the next video, we will be further discussing various sections and various parts of the Indian Evidence Act and all about the Indian Evidence Act. Thank you.